الله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين على سيدنا محمد الصادق الوعد الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وأرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. Tonight we're going to start a new chapter from Usūl al-Tafsīr, where Imam al-Dahlawi talks about the details of explanation or the commentary of the Quran. We're approaching the middle of this book, so today we're going to be talking about a topic called al-Naskh wal-Mansukh. A lot of people are not familiar with this at all, but this does exist, and this is one of the important sciences, or this is one of the important topics about the Quran. So having the right understanding is very important. Sometimes you have individuals who are not Muslims and they want to criticize Islam based on this naskh and mansukh, but not knowing what it is and not knowing the details of this. Often Muslims, they would just give up and say like, we just don't know. Alright, you may say that there is something wrong and all of that. We believe that there is nothing wrong, but we don't know how to explain. We have no idea about it. This would put you in a bad position. But not only that, you also need to know what naskh and mansukh is. As I said, this is very important part of reading the Quran. When you are reading, understanding the Quran. What is naskh and what is mansukh? Naskh is the abrogating verse. What does it mean, abrogating verse? The verse that cancels. What does it cancel? It cancels another verse in the Quran. Wait, what? We have verses that cancel another verse? Yes, we do. There are verses in the Quran that can cancel other verses. And scholars, they did not, there are different numbers of these verses based on the scholars, and sometimes it becomes even a part of a madhab, a part of a school of thought. Mansukh is the verse that is abrogated, or the verse that is cancelled. So naskh means the abrogating verse, mansukh the abrogated verse, the verse that is cancelled. There is a verse in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَا نَنْسَخْ مِنْ آيَةٍ أَوْ نُنْسِهَا نَأْتِ بِخَيْرٍ مِنْهَا أَوْ مِثْلِهَا أَلَمْ تَعْلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Which means that whatever مَا نَنْسَخْ مِنْ آيَةٍ أَوْ نُنْسِهَا, if we abrogate a verse or we cause that verse to be forgiven, we cause that verse to be forgotten, we come up with a better verse or a verse similar to that one. Don't you know that Allah has power over everything? Alright, so again, the concept of abrogation, it is mentioned in the Quran by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. Again, the verse that we cancel, we come up with a better verse. Or the verse that we cause to be forgotten, we come up with a better verse or a verse similar to that. What does that mean? Well, according to we know that there are some verses during the life of Prophet ﷺ that were revealed to the people. And you know that a society cannot change from today and all of a sudden become a better society next day, like 180 degrees change. Or like, let's say Islam would be revealed today, and then all of a sudden within a year or 2 years, you would expect the whole society to change everything and to become better. It's impossible. Therefore, there are some verses, this is with the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not according to Prophet's wisdom or to the wisdom of other people. This is the wisdom of God. In order to make things work smoother, and in order to make things work better, there are some verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, He allowed the practice of a certain thing. Then as the time went by, as the people, they were able and they were ready to stop a practice of something, there was a verse that canceled. Even though earlier it was allowed and the Quran allowed but then later on you would have a verse which would, cancel the practice of a certain hukum, a certain ruling. And again, for you to say, why? This is not you, this is not a human being according to our faith. It's not the human being the one who is choosing this and directing this, but it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who knows better the reasons. Some of these verses we understand why, but some of them we may not understand why they were cancelled. But it is God, according to His wisdom, that He has abrogated certain verses. Now, when we talk about naskh and mansukh, or nasikh and mansukh, we're talking about, generally speaking, three different categories. There are those verses that are cancelled completely, so there is no need at all going back to those verses. The second category are those verses that are cancelled, but it gives the option to Prophet ﷺ or to the believers later on to either choose the first one or the second one. Alright, so the previous ruling or the ruling after it. And the other one, it can be based on the time. So it doesn't go back and forth, it doesn't give you an option, but based on the time. Like for example, and we will go through an example like that one. So let me go very quickly and wrap it up tonight with these three different examples. Imam al-Dahlawi mentions so many of these examples here, and I believe he lists 20 of those verses. Because according to Imam al-Suyuti in his book, he also takes a saying of Abu Bakr ibn al-Arabi al-Andalusi, the very famous scholar of hadith and scholar of tafsir of the Quran, who put there are 20 of these verses that are abrogating other 20 verses or parts of the verses. So Imam al-Dahlawi says, yes, I do agree also with many of them, but I would not agree with all of them. So he has his own scholastic approach towards these verses that are abrogated and abrogated. So the first thing that I would like to mention right here is based on necessity. Like generally speaking, you would continue that practice, hold to that practice, but there يسألونك عن الشهر الحرام قتال فيه. But generally speaking, the fighting during those 4 months. But there is later on another part of the verse that says, وَقَاتِلُ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, and this is a new verse by the way too, وَقَاتِلُ الْمُشْرِكِينَ كَافَّةً كَمَا يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ كَافَّةً. But then it says, and some non-Muslims, when they want to attack Muslims, they choose this verse in particularly to attack Muslims, but they're taking things out of context. But anyways, let me go back to the meaning of this verse. However, fight the idol worshippers totally as they fight you totally. So when it says totally kaffa here, does not specify a particular place or a particular time, but it leaves it open. So they can be fought at any time throughout the year, at any place throughout the year. But again, this is not referring to all idol worshippers or to all non-believers. It's referring in particular to those who were fighting Prophet ﷺ, who were the sworn enemy of the Muslims and who were looking to destroy the community, the companions and the Prophet. So that's what we have to be very clear about this one. But again, our focus is in this word kaffa. Kaffa means totally, as a whole. Like without any specified month or place. So in other words, me now being a leader of the army, the commander of the state where I have to issue not declaring during those 4 months. But if there is, I'm not gonna let it be Baqarah, cancel the meaning of the previous verse. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not impose on any self any more than it can stand. And whatever the soul has committed, good will see that. And whatever soul has committed wrong will be against that soul on the day of judgment. In other words, there will be either punishment or there will be rewards according to the deed that you have performed, whether good or bad. So this now does not include the intention at all. So it gives a relief to the believer that you will not be held accountable for what goes in your mind, but you will be held accountable for the actions that you perform. And somebody may argue and may say, you know what, I take it back, not argue, but somebody may explain this and may say that, this makes sense because Allah is trying to also filter the ideas. He's trying to tell to the human that, it's very important for you to filter your ideas and not to harbor wrong ideas and hate and all of that, but to produce good ideas in your mind. Why? Because those good ideas are going to lead you to good results or to good actions. Alright? So this is a clear cut. So in other words, the first one cancels, abrogates the second one. Now the third one and the last one that I want to talk tonight is the verse which is based on the person. Whatever the person wants, whether to apply the first one or to apply the second one. Let's go to the ayah very quickly right here. This is Surah Al-Ma'idah. فَاحْكُمْ بَيْنَهُمْ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ. If they come to you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is referring